Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of the people in the XRP community. Today, I have, after about 9 months of hard work, working with this channel, trying to be bringing interviews to our XRP community. I have a gentleman with us today that has been on my bucket list when I first ran into crypto, and it was around 2013. I ran across who Roger is and what he was all about. And he was affectionately known, or maybe still is known, as Bitcoin Jesus. And it is an honor and a pleasure to introduce to everyone one of the pioneers of the crypto space. And Roger, would you like to introduce yourself and say hello to everyone?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. And I'd actually, I think I have some XRP stories we can talk about today that I don't think I've ever talked about publicly before. So maybe people will find those interesting as well.
Well, and I'm very much looking forward to that. And I've always been fascinated and if I get the number incorrect, then you can correct me. But I believe you were the third person that became involved with Ripple. Is that close?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was the second person. So maybe we should jump right into that story there. So
then take off. You share your stories, and I'll just listen.
Yes. So as I think most XRP or Ripple fans know, Jed McCaleb was the original brains behind it and came up with the idea. But this would have been back probably in early 2012. Jed reached out to me one day. I was actually back visiting in California at the time, I think, or I was a couple of days away from heading to California. Actually, that's what it was. I was in Japan when he reached out to me, and he said, "Hey, I've seen everything you're doing in the Bitcoin space. I have an idea on how to make Bitcoin that doesn't require mining." And he said that he thinks mining is wasteful, and so he wants to make a version of Bitcoin that doesn't require any mining. And so my initial response was, "Sounds great. How can I help?" Right? So he said, "Well, let's get together and meet for that." And I said, "Well," and he was living in the Berkeley area at the time. And I said, "Well, actually, I'm headed to California in 2 or 3 days in the future or something like that." So I said, "Why don't we meet up this this coming week once I'm back in California from Tokyo?" So I arrived in California, and we had agreed to meet for lunch at a Korean restaurant. And I think we were supposed to meet at, I don't know, 11 a.m. or noon or something like that. And I'm good at plenty of things in life, but dealing with jet lag is not one of them. And so I still feel horrible to this very day. We were supposed to meet at 11, and the jet lag just caught up with me. And I didn't just oversleep by a little bit. I overslept by a lot. Wow. And I was supposed to be there at 11, and I think I didn't wake up that day until maybe 2 in the afternoon or something like that.
And so, Roger, what you're telling me is we were all this close from none of this happening because of Roger Vere's jet lag.
But to Jed's credit, he was so gracious. And when I woke up, I contacted, said, "Oh my God, I'm 2 or 3 hours late for our meeting. I'm so sorry." I told him I can come now if that still works for you. And he said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So it was about an hour drive from where I was as well. And so I drove and we had lunch, and he presented his vision for XRP. And at the time, it didn't even have a name. It was just called New Coin. And in fact, the folder I created on my hard drive to keep track of all what eventually became XRP and Ripple stuff was called New Coin for a long, long time. And I think even our contract, our initial first contract there was just called New Coin, was what we were referring to XRP and Ripple in that contract. But Jed definitely had the vision and was really, really good at connecting the right people to make things happen. So I actually paid the salary for Joel Katz is his screen name, and his real name always escapes me because I originally know him from the Bitcoin talk forums in the early days.
David Schwartz.
David Schwartz. Thank you. So his screen name was Joel Katz on the Bitcoin talk forums, and I remember. For anybody, everybody in XRP knows what he looks like now, but he looks like the stereotypical, computer nerd programmer is. He has long hair and not as much hair on top, and looks kind of like the stereotype mad scientist for crypto stuff. And I remember when I met him for the very first time, it was at the Bitcoin meetup in Silicon Valley there that I helped to get started. And he showed up in person, and he said, "Oh, I'm Joel Katz from the forums." And my initial response, I think, was like, that's your real photo on the forums, because up to that point, I thought it was just kind of like somebody went on Google image search and tried to find the stereotypical image of a cryptographer, crypto nerd image, and use that for his profile. But it turned out it was his real profile.
Yeah.
And actually, when talking with him at some point through the whole birth of XRP and Ripple, it occurred to me, it just snapped one day. I said, wait a minute, I met you before. And so I had met David Schwartz in maybe the year 2000 at an artificial intelligence conference in Silicon Valley. And I had a really nice conversation with him. And after chatting with a little bit, it was real clear that he leans heavily libertarian. But at that time, he was working as a cryptographer for the NSA. And so I asked him, I said, like, well, if you're such a libertarian, why are you working at the NSA? That's kind of the opposite of what libertarians are supporting. And he got this twinkle in his eye, and he rubbed his hands together, and he said, because they have me working on the most subversive things imaginable. I thought, oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. And yeah, David is just an amazing guy with such an amazing mind, and can just get so many different things done. And it's really been fantastic to watch the path that XRP has managed to become one of the top cryptocurrencies in the entire world out there. It's just been a fantastic guy at the helm there, who I know from the early days as well. Right there from the very beginning of XRP and Ripple. And a lot of people won't realize that actually, when they initially created Ripple, there was the so-called toxic waste, right? The cryptographic stuff that nobody should get a hold of later, if they can cause problems. And I was one of those people that were actually involved in that actual creation ceremony there. So it was myself, Jed, David Schwartz, and a couple of other people there as well. So way back once upon a time. And so it's kind of amazing to see just how far. Everyone's calling it XRP now. For me, it's just been, at first it was new coin, and then it still feels like Ripple to me. But it's been amazing to see the path that it goes there. And I'm currently more well known for my promotion of Bitcoin Cash, but I'm a big fan of absolutely anything that works. And I've made some XRP transactions in my day as well. It works really well, and the XRP army is really exciting to see just what a great job they're doing at spreading it to the world. So I'm a fan of absolutely anything that works. So kudos to the XRP army for doing that.
Well, I appreciate that. And so in the beginning, when you saw Bitcoin, and then you saw as time went along with the innovation of the tech, do you believe that what David Schwartz and Jeb McCaleb created was a next generation solution of the tech with cryptocurrency?
I think that's probably a better question for David Schwartz or Jed at this point. But I know my interactions with XRP, I'm fast, cheap, reliable transactions. That's what I've seen with every time I've tried using it. And if anything, the biggest hindrance, and I guess we can kind of blame this to some extent on the U.S. government there as well. But the biggest hindrance for XRP adoption is there aren't really too many consumer-facing wallets at this point. But there's a whole other story behind that maybe my lawyers wouldn't be too happy if I talked about it, but I don't really care, because you only live life once, and it's important to speak the truth. So, shoot, I don't know, in the year 2013 or 14 now, it's been a while. The U.S. government, they don't like me because I'm not a fan of governments in general. I think people should have control of their own lives, and they shouldn't need permission from any politician to be able to send or receive any amount of money with anyone anywhere on the planet. And that's what made me so excited about Bitcoin, so excited about XRP, so excited about Monero, so excited about Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum and Dash, and take your pick. I'm excited about this entire ecosystem because I want to empower individuals to have more control over their own lives. And so I was literally the second person ever to be involved in Ripple or XRP. At the time that this happened, I think I was the third largest in the company itself. And I saw all the great stuff that was going on with Ripple and XRP, and I didn't own any of the actual tokens themselves. I only owned part of the company. So I reached out to Chris Larson, and I said, hey, Chris, I see all the great stuff you guys have going on. This is fantastic, but I want to own more of this. I want to own some of the XRP tokens, because right now I don't own any of them. I only own some shares in the company itself. And I said, can you sell me some XRP? And they said, yeah, sure, no problem. And he just, emailed over to me their standard onboarding like packet, which was like, I don't know, a 10-page PDF asking for, every last different detail and question about you. And I replied to him and I said, like, hey, it's not like you guys don't know who I am. I'm a public figure in the space. I helped set up the company. You don't need this 10-page long document from me in regards to do this. And he's like, you're absolutely right, Roger. No problem at all. And so then they sold me some XRP, and it was I paid them by wire transfer. Like everything was nice and smooth and easy. I might have paid by Bitcoin. I don't remember if it was wire transfer or Bitcoin, to be honest. It's been so long at this point, but everything was great. And then a couple of years later, some federal prosecutor had a bee in her bonnet or whatever, and really, really wanted to go after Ripple, and they really insisted that I be part of that. And they tried to spin the whole thing around, claiming that I strong-armed the executive team at Ripple into not abiding by their KYC practices and just a whole bunch of nonsense. And they negotiated for a long time with the eventual consent agreement there that they signed. And the United States government wouldn't budge one bit about having me in it, because they wanted to demonize me as if I was some sort of bad guy for wanting to invest in cryptocurrencies and own cryptocurrencies. It's just absolute nonsense, and just shows what a bunch of hypocrites the United States government are. They love to point out how China is horrible on allowing free speech and the way they're treating the Uyghurs and this and that. And like, they're right. But then look at what the U.S. government's doing to Edward Snowden or Julian Assange or any of these other guys in the West. They just turn a complete blind eye to almost the exact same sort of thing that they're doing over here. So, two wrongs don't make a right. And if there's one bully in the East, that doesn't mean it's okay for there to be a bully in the West. A bully is a bully is a bully, no matter where they are in the world. And I'm excited about cryptocurrencies because it takes away power from the bullies to bully people. And that's why I love XRP and Bitcoin Cash and all of these things. It's just a fantastic tool to empower the individual against the bullies in the world.
Well, and Roger, I am a brother in kind with the libertarian belief and viewpoint. I'm a libertarian as well. But do you believe that that the more libertarian and the more anarchist the crypto project, that they're going to have more pushback from the powers that be, like the central banks and the governments and all of those people? Because one of the things that people do not like about Ripple and XRP is they look at it as the banker's coin, and that they are working within the system to try to make it better. And that's one of the reasons that people don't like Ripple and XRP. So, but again, do you believe that anything is going to happen mass adoption wise without the cooperation of the central governments and the banks?
No, I think you have to cooperate. And I don't know, I can't speak for Brad Garlinghouse's intent. I don't know him well. I only met him, I think, once, and I follow him on Twitter and whatnot. But I kind of view cryptocurrencies in general, you have to work within the system. But if, for those of us that remember the original Aliens movie, right? The alien was inside the human system, and before you knew it, the alien popped out and took over everything. And I kind of feel like that's what cryptocurrencies are for the world's central banking system. They're inside, and you have to work within the system and grow and grow and grow until you can just pop out and run the show yourselves on cryptocurrency. And that was one of the real giant setbacks for XRP, though, was in that consent agreement. The United States government basically forced Ripple to not be allowed to have a consumer-facing wallet that they funded themselves. And that's why you don't have the Ripple wallet that's put out by the Ripple company, and that's been a giant setback for XRP. And so you can point right there to the U.S. government. They are delaying the adoption of technology that can improve the lives of every single human being on the planet. So one more reason why, yeah, I guess we need to work within the system here, but let's replace the system with a new and better one that empowers everybody all over the planet. And I don't have any problem whatsoever with Ripple being a part of that, or XRP being a part of that. And let 1,000 different flowers bloom. You have XRP, you have Litecoin, you have Bitcoin Cash, you have everything. And so give them all a try, and whichever ones work, fantastic. And I've never ever been a Bitcoin maximalist ever, as shown by the fact that I helped literally I helped fund the creation of XRP and a number of other cryptocurrencies out there as well. I just want something that works as peer-to-peer cash for the world, whether it's XRP or anything else. It's okay by me as long as we have it sooner rather than later.
Well, and from the regulation standpoint, do you believe that they are coming around, the regulators and the governments? Because, I mean, the world economy right now, with the fractional fiat system that we have in place now, it's looking pretty grim out there.
Yeah, I think the writing is on the wall. Cryptocurrencies are here to stay. They are not going anywhere. And at the end of the day, the ones that are the most useful to the most number of people are going to be the ones that have the most success. And to be useful to a lot of people, you have to have fast, cheap, reliable payments as well. And you have to have a big network effect. And so the way I see it right now, Bitcoin has the biggest network effect and the biggest market cap and the most liquidity, but an absolutely horrible user experience. For anybody that's tried sending or receiving Bitcoin, that user experience is horrible. XRP has a really, really good user experience, but a much, much smaller network effect in terms of the amount of merchants and wallets and exchanges and that sort of thing that are using it, and the amount of liquidity there is much smaller. Bitcoin Cash is in there with a smaller network effect and less liquidity, but a fantastic user experience as well. And then you have other coins like Monero, like that one's really, really interesting as well, with a really strong privacy right there. But it almost makes me wonder if it's too strong a privacy. And so we've already seen different exchanges in different countries be forbidden by the government from listing Monero because the privacy is so strong. So, but I think it's great that we have Bitcoin and XRP and Monero and Bitcoin Cash and all these things, because eventually one of them or multiple of them are going to have a real big breakthrough into mainstream adoption and usage around the world. And that's a fantastic thing, because then people won't be dependent on these central bankers. They can print as much money at any time for any reason and give it out to all their political buddies, while the rest of us have the money that we have devalued. And that's a big, giant problem for the world. And cryptocurrencies have the ability to solve that problem. So that's why I'm such a big fan.
Right. And what was your take when you saw that Brian Brooks had become the comptroller of the currency with the OCC? Did you feel like that was a move in the right direction for all of crypto? Because I really felt like that was kind of a watershed moment when we've got a gentleman that used to work at Coinbase and now is the person telling the banks what their regulations are going to be, and that now the U.S. banks can custody crypto.
I think that if U.S. banks can custody crypto, that's fantastic. I think the more people that are allowed to use crypto, the better. We want anybody and everybody all over the world to have the option to be able to use whatever's the most useful form of money to them. So whether it's red bricks stacked in a pile behind your backyard, or XRP or something else out there, people need to have the freedom to choose. But that's what really concerns me so much, though, too. Like we saw in the United States government literally forbid people from owning gold and told everybody they had to turn in their gold. If everybody's forced to use custodial cryptocurrency solutions because there's not enough on-chain capacity where everybody has to keep their Bitcoin in a Coinbase account, don't think that the US government wouldn't go to Coinbase and say, give us all your Bitcoin, just like they went to everybody else previously and said, give us all your gold. And so that's why I'm such a big fan of cryptocurrencies that actually allow people to have the cryptocurrency themselves in their own wallet. Things like XRP or Bitcoin Cash are fantastic examples of that.
Right. And on a timeline of adoption, do you kind of, since you were here from the beginning, do you feel like that we are closer now to what you hoped that this would be when you first saw it as one of the pioneers of the crypto space?
We're definitely closer, but we're still a long ways away. And the part that's the most frustrating for me is there was this nasty civil war within Bitcoin that I think delayed the adoption of all cryptocurrencies, not just Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, but it delayed the adoption of all cryptocurrencies by at least half a decade here. So I think we could have been much, much, much farther along the line of world currency adoption than we are today if there hadn't been that nasty civil war within Bitcoin. So that's probably the thing that was the biggest disappointment for me within my experience.
And Roger, I think you're one of the people too that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but proof of work kind of has a challenge now of being a workable tech. And again, I really am a big fan of yours. I did watch your video that you did the transactions at the coffee shop. And I mean, dude, you can't, when you move $20 back and forth and your fees are over $12, that's just not scalable. So, I mean, do you have any comments at all on your take on proof of work?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is that people should actually go out there and try using these different cryptocurrencies. Use XRP and use all these other ones, and use the one that actually works. Like there's so many people, I see them all over the place. promoting BTC and promoting Lightning Network, they obviously haven't used either one, or they wouldn't be out there promoting it, because the user experience is absolutely atrocious. I would be embarrassed to start promoting BTC today, to tell people, hey, you can use this currency and it only costs you $6 per transaction, and it might get reversed for the next week. And so I would be a snake oil salesman if I was trying to promote something like that. Yet it has the name recognition and brand awareness around the world, where today, people are focused on that one. But the user experience with XRP or Bitcoin Cash or a whole bunch of other cryptocurrencies out there are head and shoulders above. So I really invite people to go out there and actually try using the different cryptocurrencies, and you'll be able to see for yourself which ones actually work and which ones are just a bunch of vaporware and toxic people on Twitter attacking anybody who doesn't like their preferred cryptocurrency of choice.
Well, Roger, I'm not so much against the Bitcoin part, but the maxi attitude part is just something that really drives me up the wall. And I don't know whether that just comes from the fact that, as a libertarian, I like to try to evaluate things with an open mind, not just be a believer in something and just go about it blindly. And I was having a discussion in Twitter yesterday with a guy that I like and respect, but he really loves Bitcoin. And I asked him, is what Satoshi put in his white paper the reality that we have now? Did Satoshi have in mind 65% mined in China, high fees, slow transaction times, and using an enormous amount of energy? I said, which part of the reality of Bitcoin right now today do you feel comfortable encouraging other people to put their hard-earned money into it? And he came back and responded, well, I don't like any of those things. And I said, well, then what is it you're recommending?
That says a lot.
Bitcoin for? No answer. So I don't. So let me ask that to you in a different way. Do you believe that the reality of Bitcoin today is what Satoshi, whether that was Craig Wright, or a group of people, or whoever Satoshi was, do you think that the intent that they had when they wrote the white paper is the reality that we have with Bitcoin today?
Yeah, clearly not. The very title of the Bitcoin white paper written by Satoshi Nakamoto was a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Bitcoin no longer works as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, and the developers behind it aren't even trying to have it be a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. They're openly opposed to people being able to spend it and use it on things. Their entire mantra at this point is just hold it. And so if anybody's being fooled or tricked, it's thinking that BTC is Bitcoin. It's not at this point. It has the Bitcoin name, but it doesn't. It's not even remotely similar to what was described in the original Bitcoin white paper. So XRP is much closer to Bitcoin at this point than what everybody's calling Bitcoin.
And Roger, another project that is very popular out there is Ethereum. And when Vitalik is putting together 2.0, do you believe that that is a movement away from proof of work? Because again, it just doesn't seem that technology is scalable.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a job for Vitalik and the other engineers to figure out just how they can scale Ethereum with Ethereum 2.0. But I hold lots of ETH, and I'm eagerly waiting and hoping, and I'm a perpetual optimist. So I'm optimistic about the entire space and what the amazing things these amazing people are going to be able to do.
Well, and as the internet of everything and the internet of value continues to develop, I mean, how big do you see what we are all involved in? And again, the thing that is the most interesting to me is that, I mean, you're one of the pioneers of all of this. I mean, when you wake up every day and just realize your place in history, I mean, that is, I mean, as a person with an ego, I'm like, man, how that must feel every day when you wake up and know that you were one of the pioneers of the internet of everything and the internet of value. I mean, do you wake up every day smiling and remind yourself of that?
No, actually, I pretty much never think of that. What I do think about is like, what tools can we build today to bring more economic freedom to people all over the world where they can do what they want with their own money? And what actions can I take today to help move that goal forward? And so I'm too busy, trying to build those tools and work on these things to enable people to actually have more control over their own money than to stop and think back and reflect on what I've already accomplished. So maybe someday I'll have some time to do that, but that day's not here yet. I'm still too busy trying to build the tools to enable these things.
And so, Roger, what are the things, if you'd like to share with everyone, what are the things that you're working on right now, if you care to share that? What are
Sure.
the things that you're waking up with and then trying to accomplish during your waking hours these days?
Sure. And so there's only so many hours in each day, so I haven't been able to follow the XRP news closely, but I'm not aware of good on-chain privacy tools for XRP to have private transactions. Bitcoin Cash has this amazing tool called Cash Fusion. You can go to cashfusion.org and download the client for your desktop today, and we'll have it available inside the Bitcoin.com wallet here soon, where your transactions, there's literally more ways your coins could have been shuffled up than there are atoms in the entire universe. So that's a really, really big number. So you'll be able to have super, super, super private transactions on Bitcoin Cash, where the NSA and IRS and everybody else can't spy on what you're up to, and it'll be available to everybody with the Bitcoin.com wallet. So you'll have not only fast, cheap, reliable transactions, but they'll be fast, cheap, reliable, and super, super private. And so that's one of the things that I'm the most excited about for Bitcoin Cash. And then, of course, the tokens on the Bitcoin Cash ecosystem are a really big deal as well. Fast, cheap, reliable token payments, and anybody can make their own token in like 30 seconds over at mint.bitcoin.com, mint.bitcoin.com. I'm really excited about those. And I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention again. It's definitely been on our radar for consideration. Like we've toyed with the idea of adding XRP to the Bitcoin.com wallet, and that's something that seems fun and worth doing. The problem is there's just so many other things to do every day as well. So it's on our long list of things to do at some point. But yeah, that would be fun to do as well.
And globally, to backtrack just a little bit, do you believe that the pandemic has helped usher in the speed of which that the governments and the regulators want to take a look at the solution of cryptocurrency and push it along a little bit further? I feel like it's accelerated the process. How do you feel about that?
I've seen directly the web traffic stats. When the worldwide lockdown began, everybody was stuck at home on their computer. So way more people started researching this cryptocurrency stuff, and they were visiting Bitcoin.com and other websites related to cryptocurrency. So it definitely helped drive it forward from that perspective. The downside of this, though, too, is that like the government's literally strangling the entire worldwide economy over the fear of, it's a real disease and real people have died from the disease, but the government reaction has been far, far worse than the disease. And more people are probably going to die from the government reaction to the disease than the actual disease itself. And so I'd love to see cryptocurrencies start disempowering these politicians from being able to control peaceful people. If you want to self-isolate and stay at home wearing a mask, go for it. But don't force everybody else to do the same thing. People can decide what their own appropriate risk level to take in the world is. And so I want to see cryptocurrencies empower the individuals to be able to make those choices and disempower these hypocrite politicians, like we saw Nancy Pelosi trying to force everybody to stay at home wearing a mask while she's at the hair salon not wearing a mask. I mean, what a fantastic example of hypocrisy out there. So
I couldn't agree more. And one of the things too that I've been hearing on my radar lately is Elon Musk putting together something called Starlink to possibly set the economic system up in space so nobody can put out a EMP to knock out the electronic grid. Do you feel like that we're moving towards having everything up on satellite so it can't be messed with?
And clearly more and more stuff's going on in space. I hadn't thought about the idea of Starlink being able to protect us from EMP stuff. I think the problem is that all the people on the ground with their electronics would still be affected, even if the satellites are still up and running. So I'll have to give that some more thought. But the more useful tools that people have in the world to talk to each other and do payments with each other, the better. And I'll tell you, I'm real excited about Starlink as well, and Neuralink, and it's just so fantastic that the world has these great minds that can go out there and figure out how to do great things, because the rest of us all benefit from it. And I think anybody that studies economics realizes that anytime any businessman becomes a billionaire or does something like that, it's because they had things that they gave to the world values far more than the money that they gave to them. And so, yeah, Tesla's had some subsidies and this and that, but and those subsidies aren't appropriate. But overall, look how much better my life is because I have an iPhone here, right? And Apple is one of the wealthiest countries in the entire world, or companies in the entire world, because they gave the entire world these amazing tools that they get to use to improve their lives. So like, yeah, I gave Apple a bunch of my money, but it's because I value their, the phones and the computers that they've given me more than I value the money that they've given, that I gave them. And so this is just a fantastic example of time and time again, anytime anything happens in the free market, both people are better off after the exchange. Otherwise, the exchange wouldn't happen. And when government diverts resources and time and money and effort away from the free market, they're diverting those resources away from the best use case there. And that's a real unfortunate thing. And that's why cryptocurrencies are so exciting, because it'll make it more difficult for government to divert resources away from the free market to their own ends. I mean, look at how much money NASA's wasted over the years. Imagine if all that money had still been in the private sector and the rate of economic growth had been, slightly larger than it has been over the last couple of decades. Maybe Elon Musk, maybe the Starlink system would have been, in orbit a decade ago already, and we would have had it for the last 10 years already, or who knows what other diseases or other things they would have been able to figure out how to cure, or problems would have been solved already. And so you have to look at not just what's seen, like, yeah, NASA put people on the moon and they have space shuttles and that's cool, but what would have happened if all that capital hadn't been sucked out of the world's economy and diverted towards that? What other amazing things would have come into existence that we don't know about today because they misallocated all those resources to things that, frankly, people didn't value all that much. Otherwise, they would have been able to donate all that money voluntarily, and you wouldn't have had the government needing to do that by threatening to toss people in jail if they didn't pay. So I'm a big fan of the free market, and I'm opposed to any time the government violently interjects itself into the market, because free people make everybody's lives better off, and violent interjection into the economy retards the world's rate of economic growth and prevents the world from being as good of a place as it otherwise would have been.
And Roger, one of the things also that's been on most everyone's radar lately has been quantum computing. And do you see the quantum computing being able to kind of thwart the progress of the tech that is being utilized right now in the cryptocurrency space? Personally, I feel like that quantum computing could have an effect, but I don't believe that that's a concern that we all ought to be having right now. I don't think that the quantum computing is quite ready yet, and it will still give the cryptographers in the crypto space time to be able to work on being able to avert that as a potential threat.
Yeah, David Schwartz is a better guy to talk with about that than myself, but my understanding is when quantum computers have enough qubits to do certain things here, it'll close some current cryptographical tools from being used, but it'll open new doors where there's new algorithms that are able to be used. So it's just one more step in the path forward for human progress. And maybe we would have had, quantum computers with thousands of qubits already if the government hadn't been retarding the rate of economic growth for the last, several centuries there. So, we should be striving to create new technologies as fast as we possibly can. We don't want to slow down the inevitable, because just look around. The world's getting better and better for more and more people year after year. I'm old enough to remember this iPhone would have been absolute magic when I was a kid. I remember my first, even before Nintendo, we had a Pong thing with knobs you would twist there. And yeah, you remember those too. Look at how far we've come, and things are just getting better and better for people all over the world year after year. So, and cryptocurrencies are a powerful tool to help speed up that pace of progress around the world.
Well, Roger, I'm a little bit older than you, and I grew up in an age where my television had 3 stations, 4, ABC, NBC, CBS, and then on UHF, we could pick up channel 19, which was, an alternative local station, kind of like Fox, the 4th network at that time. And my toy to be able to play with, like, we can play with this now, was a magic 8-ball. So that's how far back I go. My little toy like this was, growing up as a kid, was a magic 8-ball.
I remember seeing those as well at one point, but I'm glad you're keeping up with the technology of the times, and you have your XRP and your iPhone and your green screen and video casting around the world now. So and I think that's what all of us should strive to do is keep up with the times.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm 58, but I read a book in my 20s about paradigm shifting, and it just captivated me. And so for the last 35 years, I've always kind of been looking and lurking and watching for any paradigms that seem to be shifting. And right now in the world, it's why I wake up with a big smile on my face every day. I see more paradigms converging, being shifting right now to make the world a better, more connected place than I ever have in my entire lifetime. And I know that there's some people that are concerned about this growth of technology in our lives, but I look at it like if it makes it more convenient for the human being, they're going to utilize it. And that's how I see all these changes being made. And I'm, like I said, Roger, I wake up every day more excited at 58 than at any other time since I've been alive.
That's exactly how I feel as well. Every day is just so exciting. What new amazing things are coming out into the world today. So yeah, that's what an exciting time to be alive for all of us. Well put.
And I think, Roger, I don't want to overtake your gracious time. And so as we wind up, do you have any kind of a final message that you would like to be able to send out to the world? And again, I could thank you for 1,000 years for making this another one on my bucket list that I get to check off. You really do have no idea what an honor it is that you decided to share some of your time today with me. And I hope we'll be able to get together again some date in the future to be able to evaluate where we were the first time that we got to talk on September 15th, 2020, and where we have moved along the adoption of crypto in the world. So do you have any final words that you'd like to share with everyone as we kind of wrap this up?
Yeah, you mentioned always looking for the new paradigm. And what's the new paradigm? Well, if you don't keep an open mind and if you're not willing to try new things, you're going to miss that new paradigm. So it's really, really important to keep an open mind and be willing to try new things in order to be able to see that new paradigm coming before the rest of the world notices it. So I think that's your own advice that I just restated for the channel. But thank you for giving that accurate advice to the world.
All right. Well, again, Roger, thank you. And I hope that we can continue this conversation at some time at a later date. And again, I cannot thank you enough from the bottom of my heart for you being willing to share some of your time with me today.
Yeah, I look forward to the next time. Thank you very, very much as well.
Okay. Take care, Roger.